Alright, welcome back to the Sci Fi Case project. This is number 14 in the tutorial series. So in the last tutorial we created this clip here, but it wasn't finished exactly. It didn't pivot correctly, and you can see it's rotating now in a good spot along this cylinder here. And so we're going to kind of correct that today, and then hopefully we'll be able to correct the seam here on the side. If not, we'll do that in another tutorial, but there's some open seams here. So what I'm going to do is move this out of the way and just turn on the original one that I had before. So here it is, and you can see the pivot's not in exactly the correct spot, so we'll have to change that eventually. You can see it rotates kind of in a similar area but not exactly the same. Right now what I want to do is isolate this thing on its own. I'm going to hit number 1 to go out of smooth mesh preview, and I'll turn on wireframe but isolate. There we go. And there's a couple things I want to do first. I want to get rid of a couple edge loops here. So I'm going to double click on this one, hold shift key, double click on this one, and I'm going to hit control backspace to delete those. This just will make it a little easier in terms of adding an area for this circle to appear essentially. So I'm going to double click on my insert edge loop tool, make sure my relative distance is selected, and I'm going to click right here, and probably about right about there. Kind of want to have something that's kind of square. Let me undo that for a sec. Let me bring it down. Yeah, that's kind of it's kind of an angled square, but it's kind of like a square shape kind of. And so we're getting kind of square there. And then what I want to do is double click on the tool and choose multiple edge loops and make sure one is selected so that I can add one there and one there, so that basically I get 4 kind of squares that are pretty good. Click out and close this, and then go into face mode. So I click on the arrow, make sure to do that, escape out of insert edge loop tool. And I'm going to hold the shift key and select these 4 faces. Now eventually I'm going to delete half the mesh, so I'm just going to hit number 4 to kind of see, you know, that I have selected just these 4. And essentially here is what I'm going to do is hold the shift key and right click, and you can go down to circularize components, and that'll do that there. Now it is doing some weird kind of things here, and I think that's because of how it's squished. I'm going to hit R for scale tool and kind of scale in. Let's see if that helps it. It did seem like it bent some of these geometry here. So what we can do is we can undo a couple times. Let me see what I can do here. Might have to get rid of a few more edge loops. I don't want to get rid of that one. Maybe this one. Let me see. I'm going to go ahead and hit Control Delete. Yeah, that makes it a little bit smoother there. There was a black stain on that part too, and creating some pinching. Let's try it again. Let's see. I'll go into face mode. Select this one, this one, this one, this one. And then again, shift right click and choose circularize. There we go. It's a little bit better. And then I'll hit R and kind of scale that in. And so what's happening here is a little problem with the face is bending a little bit. So might have to fix that a little bit later. Let's do maybe about that scale. Then we're going to hit Control E, or actually let me try and rotate and see if anything will. No, if I rotate it'll move it. No, I don't want to do that. Let's hit Control E, and I'm going to click on blue cube and then blue cube here and kind of scale that in a little bit. So it's just scaling it in and creating an edge loop. Then I'm going to hit Control E this time. This time I'm going to click on this little widget here. What this will do is it bring back to the world view. And this is the way I want to extrude it in. I want to go in this way. But I'm going to do just a little bit so I get an edge loop there, and then hit Control E again. I have to click on the widget again to make sure it goes in the world view, and slide that in a little bit to about maybe there. And then I'll hit Control E one more time, click on the little widget, move it in, and I'm going to hold the V key and kind of snap to the center there. And essentially you can see on the inside there, that's where it's at, and it's kind of lined up just fine. I'm going to delete those faces, so that's deleted. And now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to grab this face, hold Shift key, double click, and just delete all that part. And then I'll just double click and delete this whole thing here. So now we've got half the mesh to work with and kind of fix. So right here, it looks like there's a vert here that maybe we can move. I'm just kind of pulling it around to see what I could do to fix this. I could get rid of maybe this edge loop. Let's see if this would do it. Might be too much tightness there. Let's hit Control Delete. That really didn't get rid of it. Let's see if I delete this one. That kind of fixed it. The black area there kind of went away. So let's see. All right. So I see what's happening. We got the edge loop flow is kind of going the wrong direction. It's kind of going to here. So let me undo several times. See if I can go back far enough. I might not be able to undo all this, but I'm gonna see if I can to go back to there. Okay. What I want to do is get rid of some of these edge loops now. So I'm going to double click on that one, double click on that one, and that one I don't need to select. So double click on that one and double click on that one. Those edge loops go all the way around, and I'll hit Control Delete. And this one, if I delete that one, I get an edge there. So let's see. I think that one I'll keep right now. Okay. Now let's go to face. I might get the same results, but let's see. We'll hit circularize, so I'll hold Shift, right click, circularize components, and it's creating some weird issue over there now. Grr. Sometimes this happens where it's the angle of things are a little bit off, and so it's sort of going non-planar. So I'm going to repeat the same actions. I'm just going to extrude in a little bit, and then I'm going to hit, to create the edge loop, hit Control E, click on this little widget to go into the world view, and just go in a little bit, hit Control E, click on this again to go into world view, bring it in about halfway, or not quite halfway, but about a quarter way. Then hit Control E, click on this widget, bring this in, and then hold V key and snap to the center there. And then delete that, fit into your face. And again, I'm going to select this face, double click, delete, double click, delete. So now we've got essentially half the mesh properly set up, except looks like that loop did not line up correctly. That's interesting. So let me go to vertex mode. I see. So what happened was it didn't flatten these edge here. So let me double click on this edge and hit E, or no, hit R. Let's try to flatten it. There we go. So if I scale in the blue to make it flat, it didn't snap to the center is what happened here. So now I believe it sort of snapped. I can move it back a little bit and hold V and sort of snap to that edge. And now we've got a cleaner area. It's not a perfect circle, but you'll see when I hit number 3, it looks pretty close. It's kind of just like a squish circle. So we'll hit number 1 there. So let's see. On this part, if we hit number 3, the black does go away. So it's just, yeah, it's just a little bit of an issue there in the number 1. So we could probably keep it the way it is and not really mess with the geometry too much more. So what I'm going to do now is go back to object mode, and with this pivot here, I want it to be on the center here. So I'm just going to hold D key and then hit V and snap to that point there and hit D. Now I can, whoops, accidentally hold down. Let me click on this. There we go. Anytime you accidentally, what I did is I clicked on the hotkey and create another window, or went to another window. You can reset by clicking on this little 4 and then tap spacebar to go into your 3/4 perspective view here. So now I'm in the Z direction. I want to mirror across the Z. And so I can do that just by going to Mesh and Mirror. And I want this to be done in the object, and Z is correct in the minus. And there it is. And now when I hit number 3, you can see it's pretty much there. You know, it works pretty well. So now I'll bring everything back. So now all I gotta do is change the pivot of the location. And then if I want to add, you know, more edging support loops, I can do that too. But right now, if I hit E, it kind of rotates up here. So I'm going to undo that. What I want to do is hold the Shift key and select this guy and isolate those two. And so what I'm going to do here is select just this object. You can see the pivot's in the wrong location. So I'm going to hold the D key, and then I'm going to hold V, and I'm going to literally snap this guy right to that center point there, and then hit D again. Now, even though it's over here, when I rotate, it rotates correctly. Pretty cool, right? All right, so bring this back. I think we'll save the next tutorial. We'll do the ceiling, and maybe finish up a little bit more, but I think this is a good sort of stopping point for right now. All right, until next time, see you soon. Cheers.